Good morning, everybody. So, welcome today. Good to see some of you guys live here. Thank you for joining me. This is the first of the Wild Woman Codes, which is a Facebook Live series that I'm going to be doing for the next 4 weeks, maybe longer. We'll see how much you guys enjoy it. And the intention of this time together is really to drop into some of the essential nuggets of the tools that I've learned along my 20 plus year journey of embodiment and spirituality and Tantra to be able to share with you that will support you in your life to live richer and fuller, happier, juicier lives and looking at the things that keep you from showing up in that way. And so I'm just gonna say hi to a few people. Hey, Jody. Yay, good to see you here. I miss you. Hey, Janet, good to see you here as well. And yeah, for those of you who are tuning in, I'm in Costa Rica right now. I'm actually here on what we feel is an essential visit. My partner's daughter lives here with her mom, and they haven't seen each other for almost 2 years. And so we are here right now in the jungle visiting and spending some quality time with the loved ones. It's been really amazing to watch her grow up into a young woman and have a different kind of relationship than I did when I met her when she was 8. So that's been really great. So tuning in today with the Wild Woman Codes, today I thought that our topic could be around communication. And communication is such an important piece to every single relationship, including with ourselves and including intimacy with other people, our close, our beloved ones, our coworkers, strangers in the street. That is one of the main forms that human beings use to communicate our needs, our boundaries, and our desires, and our fears, our vulnerabilities, and one of the most powerful tools that we have. And yet many people seem to stumble in communication. Communication is one of the number one breakdowns of relationships, for example. And so if we don't spend time cultivating, nourishing, and gaining tools on how to communicate more truthfully, authentically, and with realness in the words that we choose to use and we speak and we share, then life gets quite confusing because we're not actually saying what we mean and meaning what we say. So that's going to be the topic today. I'm also reminded right now, as all these Canadians are hopping on right now, hey Kelly, hey Karen, welcome to the live today, is a little bit around our conditioning. And so everybody has a different conditioning around communication. And I'm curious for you who's watching, like what were some of the things that you learned about speaking your truth, about sharing what was really on your heart and in your body and in your intuition that you really felt. And I'll share a little bit about mine and you can pop yours in the comments, is for me, I grew up in a refugee family. And so my family is Chinese, but grew up in Vietnam. And so in the late 70s, they left Vietnam and went to France, where that's actually my parents met there. And then they came to Canada. And so when I grew up, my parents had no money, like zero. I was conceived shortly after they arrived to Canada. And at that point, when I was born, we were living in a house of 13 adults in a 2-bedroom townhouse, and then little baby Alice. And so I learned very quickly from when I was very young that I was not to cause a fuss. That if I had something to say, better not say it, because all of the adults in the house are working. They're working really hard all around the clock to put food on the table. And so if I made a fuss, or if I said what I really needed, or what I was really feeling, that would create this big drama, and they just didn't have time for that. And so through that conditioning, I really see how I continue to bring that into my everyday adult relationships still, even with this awareness that a lot of times I don't really say what I really mean because I'm afraid that it will create stress for somebody else. I'm afraid that if I really speak the truth of what's happening, that somebody else might feel bad. And I didn't know how to be with other people's discomfort. yeah, Jody, the programming, if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Yeah, how many other people have heard that one? That was certainly something that I was told and in school all the time as well. And so, of course, there's something to do with, speaking truth, and sometimes in a kind way. But I find more than being kind, more than needing to be nice, is being truthful. And truth and transparency and communication is one of the key things that's needed in order to create real and true depth. Otherwise, we are all just skirting on the surface of the relationships, trying not to bump into each other, trying not to cause stress, trying not to cause trouble, when really that is the very thing that creates the ripple effect or the undercurrents that keeps relationships from being able to really drop into truth. I want to give another example of a really beautiful friend. She's a new friend of mine that I came to know in my time in Lanzarote in Spain a few months ago. And I share this example because maybe some of you have somebody like this in your life as well, or can see the benefits of this kind of communication. So my dear friend, I won't share her name, but she's German, and I'm Canadian. And so what are Canadians taught to be? We're known globally to be some of the most polite people in the world. We say, if you're not Canadian, you might not know this, we say sorry on the bus, even if you bump into us. Yeah, like I didn't step on your toe, but you stepped on mine, and I would say sorry. Like, sorry, I'm in your way. Sorry, I was, that I bothered you. And so sorry is such a huge word in the Canadian culture, to be apologetic about everything. And so this is kind of another piece of programming that I come in. And then my dear friend, she's German, and culturally, I really love the Germans for this. They tend to be much more direct and say what they think, and are very direct and clear, and don't hide when they're upset. And so, the meeting of the Canadian and the German, let's say here, me and my beloved friend, the first times we met, I was just like, I felt like my nervous system couldn't really rest around her. Like when I saw her, it always looked like she was kind of upset about something, and then I would worry that maybe I did something, we shared a kitchen, maybe I was the one who left the dish out or whatever, that created this stress and this angst for her. But over time, what I realized in our communication, because we were able to actually say what we mean and mean what we say, we would have these moments of what's called rupture and then repair. And that's what creates depth and intimacy in relationships. So ruptures are always going to happen. We're human beings, and somebody's going to leave the dishes and the other person's going to be upset. Somebody's going to have a certain opinion and the other person's not going to agree. So these disagreements are always going to happen. But a depth of a relationship isn't about whether or not those things happen. It's about our capacity to be honest and truthful in those moments, and then also speak with clarity. What are our missing needs? What are our desires? Maybe what we're afraid of, and then get to a point where we can repair that. And so to give you an example, real life example, is when there was this one day when I had said actually something kind of harsh to her. We were in a group dynamic situation where we were deciding who was going to drive where and what cars. And in my perception, she was in a space where she was just like, I don't want to drive. Like, it doesn't make any sense to drive. Actually, like she was just kind of spinning the story about why we should take fewer cars and why we shouldn't take her car. And I was developing this story in my brain to think, oh, she actually just doesn't want to drive and she's trying to manipulate the situation so that she doesn't have to. So instead of building up the story, I just called her out on it. Well, called her out. I said what I was thinking. I said, hey, actually what I think is happening right now is that you don't want to drive. And it feels like you're kind of manipulating the situation so you don't have to do it. And it was a little bit of a moment because, of course, when I say something like that, somebody can feel accused, they can feel blamed, they can feel misunderstood. And yet we had developed enough trust in our relationship that she just said, no, Alice, actually, that's not the case. It really makes sense for me not to take my car, and these are the reasons why. And she told me 3 reasons. And I paused and I breathed that in, and I said, actually, yeah, that does make sense. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I misread you. I'm sorry that I misjudged you. Please forgive me, and thank you for clearing that up. And she said, yep, absolutely no problem. And then from then on, we just cleared it. and we never carried it into the future. And this is what I mean by speaking clearly what you're noticing, feeling, observing, taking ownership for saying, hey, this is what I notice and what I'm guessing. Is this the case? And having the chance for the other person to share whether or not they align with that. And then from that point, moving on so that you don't carry it in the future. Let me know if that helps, or if you've had a situation in like that before. Brady, I'm just seeing, often our emotions are not supported. I was told not to be so sensitive. Yes, so then it was harder to express some feelings and feel them fully. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I imagine that other people listening right now might also feel the same. Like, just put a heart or a few hearts or a thumbs up if you also were told to not be so sensitive, that your emotions are not okay, that they're too much, that you should hold your tears back, that you should bite your lip, that you should bite your tongue, right? Yeah, so sensitivity is a really beautiful part of tuning in to what is real inside. And again, this theme today of saying what you mean and meaning what you say is, how do we learn, one of the tools is, how do we learn how to access the sensitivity of our emotions without necessarily making a big story out of it? Yes, Jody. Yeah, right on point. So powerful to expose the stories that we are making up. And so, and when we do that, being willing to let go of the story just as easily and quickly as it was created, right? And so the sensitivity that some of us feel is the sensitivity to the sensations that are in the body. And I want to give you a little tool to use when you feel like there's something inside you that you want to say, but you don't know how to say it. Or does anybody, sorry, I'm like sweating here. It's the Costa Rican jungle in the middle of the day. When you feel like you've got something to say, but you don't know how to say it. And so that energy of that emotion, because that's really what an emotion is energy in motion, or in non-motion if it's stuck, but it wants to move. And when it doesn't have space to move, to be spoken, to be expressed, to be let out, what it does is it bottles up inside us, and it can feel different ways, right? So one of my common ones is I feel this lump in my throat. I know it so well because I'm really attuned into it now. It kind of starts off as this big ball, almost like something stuck in my throat, and then it starts to grow, and then it gets a little bit prickly, and it starts to get really intense, and it's almost like I need to cough, or something needs to come out. And so when we're sensitive to our feelings, our sensations in the body, one of the tools that you can use in the moment where you have something to say but you don't quite know how to say it, is you can simply take a breath. You can maybe even do that right now wherever you are. And drop your awareness into a sensation in the body. Right, and so when that lump in the throat is coming, maybe I don't know what is behind that lump, but I can say, wow, talking to you right now, I notice that there is a lump starting to swell up in my throat, and it's getting more and more tight and really intense. And then after you share whatever sensation is you observe in your body, a physical sensation, you take a breath, make some space for it. Right? And then you might notice something else. Okay, and after taking that breath, I notice that my hands are starting to make fists. I notice that there's some anger inside my body, and that I'm tensing up inside my shoulders, and it's going up into my neck. Right? And so when we do these somatic practices like this, somatic just means it's the soma, is to come into the body at this present moment time, not dropping into the story about why I'm upset, or you did this, or going into victimy, or blaming other people, but really taking full responsibility for, wow, this is what I notice inside my own body right now. That is the truth of what is happening. And often when we give some space for the body to express itself, to be felt, heard, seen, then it makes room for whatever really wants to be said, to be said. So let me know how that resonates with you. Let me know where you feel emotions stuck in your body. Does anybody else feel that lump in your throat? Some people take it into their low back, or I was in a marriage a few years back, my last relationship, where I constantly had a sore right shoulder. I thought that it was my yoga practice. Maybe it was a little bit, but often it was just this consistent right shoulder pain that would travel up through my neck and into the back of the occiput, where actually my whole shoulder would freeze, and it would just go into this cycle again and again and again. And the shoulder is a part in the body where we hold our shoulds. Yeah, so shoulders, the same word, is where we carry the weight of our shoulds. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be feeling better. That person should be doing something. And so when we carry around too much of our shoulds and we're not saying what is actually moving through our body, then we really harbor that stress and tension here. And so again, giving room to tune into your body somatically, feel the sensations that are arising for you, and then sharing from that place can be super helpful. Yeah, I'm just looking at some comments right here. Yeah, beautiful to see you too, Lindsay. Yeah, and Janet, throat, neck, get a flush or a rash on my nose and cheeks, which is hard to hide. Yeah, that's energy wanting to move up, right? So blood is coursing through our body, which is completely, connected to our nervous system as well, right? When we're getting into kind of a fight or flight mode, the blood often moves from our organs and into the periphery. And so getting flush is often an indication that, yeah, something is wanting to move through, something is moving through. Hey, Jen. It's so good to see you. And Karen, welcome. Dennis, welcome. So that's the conversation that I have to share around emotions, communication today, and saying what you mean and mean what you say. Actually, I'll leave you with one last thing, is that a personal coach told me once that the truth, often when it's a hard truth, often when it's that one thing that you just don't want to say or feel afraid of saying, sometimes in the first moments of saying it, it's going to feel so uncomfortable, right? Like every part of you just wants to hide, go away, say something to smooth that conversation over, make it not so awkward. And often those are moments to really sit and burn a little bit longer. It's like developing our capacity to be with the uncomfortable. But one thing he said to me is the truth of what's beneath the surface. In the moment that you share it, it always feels like this moment where we just gasp and hold our breath. And it's going to be uncomfortable. However, after truth speaking, what follows is always relief. It's always relief, because then we're no longer holding that inside of ourselves anymore. That energy that we have been trying to suppress or put away is given a space. And so just remember that next time you have a tough conversation about saying what you really mean, that relief always follows truth. It's like the Band-Aid that gets ripped off. Okay, I think I will leave it at there in terms of my own sharing, but if you have any other questions or comments or things to share, I would love to hear them in the comments below. What I'll also add as well is I recorded a masterclass about emotions in particular. And so inside Wild Woman Temple, which is a membership portal and online sanctuary for women, there's 130 women in there from all around the world right now, and it's an amazing space. This month in particular, we're talking about communication and emotions. And then in the next 3 months, over the period of, April to June, is communications in different themes. And so next month, we're going to be talking about boundaries, saying yeses, nos. And then the future month in June is all going to be about communicating your desires, which often also gives butterflies in the heart. And so as part of Wild Woman Temple, the sisters get a masterclass every month on one of these topics. And for this month only, I'm going to share the masterclass that we did on emotions for the temple. And so if you would like to have that masterclass sent to you, just pop your email in the comments below or send me a DM and I'll get one your way. It's really good. It's 26 minutes of emotional release and empowerment tools that help you to really move energy in your body, and then a profound practice of aspecting, which I learned from ISTA, International School of Temple Arts, to come into resolution in challenges that you might be facing both inside yourself as well as with others. And so if you would like access to that masterclass, just again, put your email in the comments below or send me a message and I'll send that your way. And yes, Janet, thank you. If you haven't joined the temple, highly recommend it. Love it. I love having you in there so much, Janet. It's so good to get to know you in there. It's super amazing sisterhood that's being developed, where we really dive into the places that are holding us back from saying a full yes to ourselves and yes to life. I'm going to be doing Facebook Live every Wednesday now. This is the Wild Woman Codes, but of course anybody of any gender can come, and sharing just these little potent bite-sized gold gem nuggets with you every week. And so pop it into your calendar, share it with your friends. If this conversation was helpful for you, feel free to share it as well, spread the love. And the masterclass is something that I really just want everybody to have. These tools were a profound shift in my life to learn how to take more self-responsibility for my own emotions, for my own truth, and my expression of that in the world. And so thank you all so much for joining today. It's really beautiful to feel you all, and I look forward to the next one. Feel free to always share how these move you, touch you, and if you have any questions at all, just pop them in. I always read through everything on my own. Okay, much love. Yeah, Jody. Gosh, I wish I was in Palm Springs with you. Well, I mean, I'm happy in Costa Rica, but I miss our visits, our girl chats. Yeah, Janet, doing the tools every day in the shower. Oh, fantastic. What a good place to do it. That's a really great idea. So the tools that we're just talking about right now are the 7 tools of emotional release, which come from, again, ISTA, International School of Temple Arts. There's actually 8. We added 1. And really great ways to move energy and charge into the body. So those are all in the masterclass. Okay, my love. So again, thank you so much. I'll tune in again next week. I look forward to seeing you all back again, and take care. Have a beautiful day. Enjoy your hiking, Jody. Bye, and thanks for everybody who joined.